Hey, good morning. It's Fort Worth Playboy, and this is the Fort Worth Playboy Morning Show here on May 15th, 2024. And welcome, and I'm glad you're here. And what do we cover on the Fort Worth Playboy Morning Show? Generally, our goals are to cover game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And when I say we, I mean this show is a combination of myself and my Playboy's Bunny, who will be here tomorrow morning with me at 7 a.m. sharp. And that's how this program began, was Bunny and I. And sometimes Bunny is at the gym, so I'm on. And there are times of the year that I'm at the gym working with clients and Bunny will be on. So it just depends on the time of the year, really on who's leading up the show. And sometimes we're together. But what we cover on this program is generally game, pickup, things that you can apply today to help you move girls from complete stranger to naked and in your bed, and all the way to improving a 20 or 30-year marriage that's lost its spark. Bunny is a specialist in reigniting passion and attraction in people that have known each other way too long. And she's good at it. It's a very difficult and unique specialty to have. And we fall under the umbrella of the red pill, which is a phrase that's become very popular in the last couple of months. And it's always been around. And the umbrella of the red pill includes like MGTOW and men's rights activists, any type of intersexual dynamics. And in a sense, game and pickup are components, are the tactical portion or a tactical portion of the red pill. The red pill is strategic. It's big picture stuff. And game is very much tactical, on the ground, things that you're actually doing to make yourself more attractive, to attract the women you're interested in, and to move them from complete stranger to naked in your bed. And then the girls can decide whether they want a relationship or not. We always say guys take care of hookup, meet up, sex, and keeping things entertaining, and women can take care of the relationship stuff. We stay away from that and let them. Relationships are girls' problems. So that's the real deal. We always start with a maxim. Today's maxim is maxim number 54. Let's see if I can get it up. Oh, I missed. Okay. When I rush, I always do this wrong. Let's try it one more time. There we go. So maxim number 54 from Chateau Hartiste: a woman's happiness is inversely proportional to efforts to accommodate her demands. Corollary to maxim number 54: the more a woman's demands are catered to, the more irrational will her future demands become. Okay, so maxim number 54: a woman's happiness is inversely proportional to the efforts to accommodate her demands. Again, when you try to please women, it displeases them. They don't want pussy pleasers. They want men who are doing their own thing, doing interesting things. They want to hop aboard your lifestyle. That's why when you try to interject or try to pick up her habits or go along with her schedule or her stuff, it tends to turn women off. And it'll be subtle, especially in the beginning, but you can see a lot of this, the inverse proportional efforts to accommodate her demands. When you see it in like couples that are starting to go south, like he's become a little bit too beta, or they're married and he becomes a little bit too beta and she wants away from him. And the harder he tries, the more he does, it comes down to the guy where you'll see like the frantic husband going, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want me to do?" And she's like a nuclear explosion, when what he really should be doing is pulling back and doing less. Take care of himself. Focus in on himself. Cut off the money. Cut off the access to good things. He should be taking care of himself, but his default is to beta and to accommodate her desires and all she wants is to get away from him. When he should be pulling back, creating dread, making sure that he's attractive to other women. Women work best when they're competing against other women for her husband's attention. And that tends to even things out. That's where dread comes in. But what happens, and this is a very slow process, kind of like water dripping on a rock, if you want to think about it. And you don't realize it at first, but meeting her demands, her ever increasing demands, will slowly erode the quality of the relationship. So a woman's happiness is inversely proportional to efforts to accommodate her demands. And one of the best examples I can give, and almost every guy can relate to this, is in a guy kind of explained this to me very early on in fitness. Nobody's off at 5 o'clock ever. We always work till 7, 8, or 9, because we work when people, well, we work around the clock, but we work when other people are off their normal 9 to 5. But my wife wanted me home by 5. Well, 5 is when things start picking up, and he was like, look, you got to understand that, you can start getting home at 6, and try to cut the difference. He said, but it won't be enough. Eventually it'll be 5:30. She wants you home by 5:30, then 5. Then what? Why can't you cut out early at 4:30 and be home early? There will always be ever increasing demands. So I just would say, hey, I'll be home as soon as I get off. And I'd probably usually walk in the door about 7 or 8 o'clock. So, because that's when, this is your wife says, what time do you get off? You say, I'll be home by 8, because she doesn't need to know when you get off. She needs to know when you're going to be home by. So that's the real deal. It's going to be an ever increasing demands for whatever. I mean, it's just like she demands an SUV. She's going to demand a nicer SUV down the road. I mean, it always increases. So if you start low or you don't meet the demands, it's a lot easier to manage. It doesn't mean don't give anything. It doesn't mean, but know that overly extending yourself has an eroding effect on her admiration, her attraction to you. It's the exact opposite of what we respond to. A girl starts bending over backwards, you notice it. She starts doing more for you, you notice it. You tend to reward that. For women, it's the exact opposite. They want to bend over backwards for you. They want to go the extra mile for you. They want to put out more effort to a higher value man. So a woman's happiness is inversely proportional to efforts to accommodate her demands. The less you give in, the less you give, the happier she'll be. All of this, none of it makes sense when you hear it. It even sounds abusive, but it's how things actually work. And that's why game is game. And if you put this out in front of your normal friends, they will reject it and have all kinds of epileptic fits over it. And so you just have to know that this is how it works. And the more a woman's demands are catered to, the more irrational will her future demands become, all the way up to divorce court. And then she's demanding 50% or more of your income and property, and it's not a good scene. So that's the real deal. You have to realize that, and guys that get this innately just seem to do better with women. They are skeptical, and I don't know if it's because somebody kind of keys them into it early on, or they're just a naturally skeptical guy. They're like, she'll be okay. There's a lot of there's somewhat, you're like, aren't you going to answer the phone? No, she'll be all right. These guys actually have happier wives and girlfriends than the guys that are answering the phone in the middle of a meeting, texting back in the middle of a meeting. It never goes well. They're not happy. The wives aren't happy. No one's happy. So always a measured reaction to demands on your time or resources from women, because just like maxim number 54 says, and all this is counterintuitive, so you have to actually think about it. A woman's happiness is inversely proportional to efforts to accommodate her demands. Corollary to maxim number 54, the more a woman's demands are catered to, the more irrational will her future demands become. Remember, we're the only people that you know that buy her a house, buy her a car, and have children with her, and then she says, no, we're not having sex. I mean, I saw that earlier today. I was like, guys really kind of like have to wrap their heads around that it's not the best deal when it gets out of your hands. So be measured, be careful with meeting demands. And that's about all. Because each demand is a unique proposition. Next tweet. Let's see what else we have here. A good question, Bouncer. But if doing less is the key, then when can you accommodate? It's measured. That's what I was trying to say. We say calibration, just like when you're calibrating, it should be a calibrated response to knowing, what's good enough. Generally, if you tend to go over, and you can say no, girls actually respond to no better than you would think, especially if you start them from the very beginning with certain no's. They want you to say no at times to some of their requests or demands, because it kind of keeps everything within the lanes. So you can say no, or you can a measured response is best. But what the maxim does say is when you bend over backwards every time, it's just going to be an ever increasing list of demands. And you see it all the time. And the women aren't any happier. I mean, if they increase their demands and you increase your response and they were happier, that would make sense, but they're not happier. Women don't like it. They don't know why they don't like it. They don't care. They just know they don't like it. So each response should be a measured response. You can't you have to. It's a partnership, but you have to make it measured and realistic. Next tweet. So the post is, I'll test it out. However, what time should you set the drink date for so that it doesn't conflict with dinner time? I'm thinking 8:30 p.m. so that she'll have dinner by herself prior to the date. Again, this is the classic. We talk about this all the time. No dinners, only drinks, especially until you start fucking. And then by the time you guys start fucking for a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, and then you go out for dinner, you can say, hey, is 8:30 too late for you to wait for dinner? And they'll be like, yeah, no. Or, because here's the deal. Brother, girls aren't scheduled. They work on feels. I feel like doing this right now. I feel like I want to have dinner later. Structured and disciplined like we are. We live the same day over and over to the best of our ability, and structured and scheduled so we can have some sense of sanity. Most don't know if they're going to eat dinner at all. Do I feel like having dinner? Or it could be Mountain Dew and hot chips at 3 or 5 or 11 p.m. So set the time that works for you. Girls generally have it's like I've asked Bunny, and Bunny is far more structured and disciplined than your average girl, coming from having kids, a fitness background. She does a lot of self-improvement stuff. Not all these things are like girl brain, is all over the place. They have no schedule. They kind of know that they need to get the kids to school by like 8. And so most of the time they'll get them there on time. But the rest of the day is a blur. It's what they feel like doing that day. And are they hungry? I don't know. What do I feel like eating? Then they forget, and that's how they forget to eat, and then they go buy Starbucks. So that is the real deal. You set schedules according to your needs and wants. And then if she does have an objection, she'll let you know. But generally, girls don't have a schedule. Especially if they don't have kids. At most, if they do have kids, they'll kind of structure their day around what the children need. So you have to take that into consideration. But generally, you can make an offer or set up a meetup and suggest a time to see if it works for them. But they don't have like we do. You know, that's one of the very first things that guys learn is that they're not just basically guys without dicks. They have a completely different approach to the day. Most of it is a blur. They have no plan. Even girls that are like boss babes, they have structure within their business day. But after that, it's really like sitting on the couch and spinning through their phone and mindlessly eating chips and drinking. And that's why, you know, everybody has a weight issue. So just know that girls do not actually follow, just like we do, a structured, scheduled, or disciplined lifestyle. Most don't know if they're going to eat dinner, or it could be a Mountain Dew and hot chips at 3, and then maybe they decide, I don't want to eat at 3, I want to eat at 5. You know what? I was talking to Cheryl at 5. I forgot to eat, and now it's 11 or midnight, and they're like, you know, I think I'll eat pizza. And that's how girls live every day of their lives. So set the time to what works for you. You don't have to put too much into it. Again, she is jumping on board with your lifestyle. Girls want to find a guy with a lifestyle that they can plug into. And you're going to help her along with that simply by having, hey, you know, I usually eat around 8:30, or we're good. Let's go out at 8:30 and have drinks. Oh, okay. That way she's already eaten and she can meet up with you. So again, and if you're talking about setting dates, the closer you remember, a date is a romantic event that can lead to sex. So if you meet her up for brunch, you meet her up for coffee at lunchtime, she has to go back to work. Well, she can't have, well, she can, but it's going to be harder. So you want to make things easy and sexier and more inclined for success. The later you can meet in the evening, the better the venue, the sexier the venue, the better off you are. That's why girls that are savvy, you know, a guy will say, hey, let's meet up at 11 o'clock for a first date. And the girls are like, and I mean 11 p.m. They'll be like, no, I can't. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, they laugh. So you got to like at least make it, you know, somewhat realistic. Some girls will bite. You know, it doesn't hurt to try, but most are going to want to hit that sweet spot of like 7 or 8 p.m. Not 11. Let's go back to my place. So that's the real deal. Just remember, girls don't live like we do. They live off of their feelings, how they feel. One thing that will really accelerate your ability to attract women and to judge them better and to qualify them more accurately and to understand where they're coming from and what they're saying to you is to understand girl statements. There are common girl statements that mean nothing like they sound. They simply are statements that women use, or like stock photos that women will verbalize that mean something completely different. You have to learn how to quickly mentally translate what these women are saying, and you'll start to read women more quickly or more accurately and know how to deal with them. Again, anytime a girl mentions a man, she's either fucked him or is going to fuck him. He's just a friend. We fucked. Or, hey, if you ever talk, you know, you should meet John at work. He's so funny. She has fucked John. She will fuck John. These are the things, because women are smart. They know not to mention men, but they just can't help themselves. They have to give themselves away every time. So common girl statements. If she mentions another guy, they fucked, they're going to fuck. She was interesting enough for her to risk her relationship with you to bring him up. He's just a friend. I think Rich Cooper is the one that says, those guys gotten more play than just a friend. Just a friend has fucked more women than all the other men combined. So just always keep that in mind. He's really good about reminding guys that just a friend is getting all the sex. Traveled a lot. I hooked up with randos. Anytime, and this is one of the first things I think guys learn in our world is any travel the reason for women traveling is it allows her to have anonymous sex with multiple men away from the prying eyes of friends and family. Women travel not for adventure, not to see new things, but it frees them up of all the social constraints that they experience at home that otherwise they would get the slut shaming, the slut label. And women will avoid the slut label as much as they'll avoid ugly and old. Those are the three big ones: ugly, old, and slut. And she'll avoid that one, especially if she's young and attractive. She doesn't want that slut label added to her. So she travels, goes somewhere where no one knows you. You can kind of act crazy there and then bang guys that'll never talk to anyone you know, and you come back home. You can work those numbers. So that's what travel means to women. And if a girl has traveled a lot, she's backpacked through Europe, she's gone to Asia, you name it, for any reason, there's a lot of hookups involved. It's why travel exists for women, to get them away from the prying eyes of friends and family and let them act crazy. And they'll tell you that. They'll show, before they started exposing themselves, they could stay secret. And now they have vacation boyfriends, 2 or 3. So just know that if she mentions travel, just know there's a high number in her background. If you ask her about it, she'll deny it. You can ignore that. So just know travel means a lot of hookups. A girl that just moved here by myself, it means I destroyed my reputation back home. Girls only move for 2 reasons. They're either escaping a man, a situation involving men, a stepdad, an uncle, a bad boyfriend, a bad marriage, or they're escaping to a new husband, a new boyfriend, just a guy. They're moving towards a guy. If none of that, if the guy doesn't exist where they land, it means they destroyed their reputation wherever they were, and they have to restart. And every time I bring this up, guys will jump in and go, "Hey, a girlfriend of mine that I broke up with, she just moved." A lot of times the girls will go through a bad breakup and they'll move because they have to start over everything. So just know that. Now, if she says, "I moved here to be with my sister," that's a little bit different. But girls will literally move to a city they don't know anyone in if they've destroyed their reputation. "I moved here for this job specifically." Or you hear this a lot: "I moved here with my boyfriend and then we broke up." Like the stress of the move broke them up. So just know that if they move to a town, they don't know anyone, they're there because of something in their background has forced them to restart and start fresh. Just like I've only been with 3 men, generally you'll talk to girls, "I've been celibate for 2 years." It's the patent answer. That way you don't dig too much, and they'll just volunteer this. And it has nothing to do with reality. "I've been celibate for 2 years," which really means my pussy hasn't had a break in 10 years. It's been one dude after another weekly. And that's the real deal. But to keep you from asking too many questions, "I've been celibate for the last 2 years." Yeah, I got divorced a couple of years ago. I've been celibate for the last 2 years. Again, it's just like when a police officer asks, "How many drinks have you had?" "I've had 2 beers." "I've had 2 beers." It doesn't matter if you've had 75 shots, if you've been drinking for the last 3 days straight, you've always had 2 beers. And so that's the same answer. It has nothing to do with reality, but you just need to know that it's not actually what happened. She's not been celibate for 2 years. It's a good answer that will keep you from continuing that line of questioning. That way, "I told you I was celibate for 2 years." Even if you know a guy that she dated for like 6 months in the middle of it. "No, I was celibate." "Oh, we never had sex." That sort of thing is what you'll get. So just remember, "I was celibate for 2 years" is an answer that covers up for a lot of random dick riding, for lack of a better phrase. And the last one, "We're not having sex," which means she's thinking about sex, which means you're probably having sex. This is a statement, just like we've discussed the last couple of days. There's a couple of videos where a girl said, "We're not having sex." So the guy was cool about it. and didn't attempt to have sex with her, and then sent her home in the morning, and she was mad. And she was angry. And she goes, man, I feel really ugly. She goes, I can't believe he didn't even try. So we're not having sex simply means I'm thinking about having sex with you. And if you play your cards right, we can do this. So that's what it means. It is avoiding slut shaming. It's a guard against, being called a slut. There's so many reasons that it's there, but it's part of the game. It's part of the script. We're not having sex. Okay. Then you still try to have sex. It's part of the script. It's his job to at least try. Girls will be more forgiving for a man who, pursues his manly desires than she will if he's an asexual coward. So you need to at least attempt it. And she'll be, even if she blows you off and shuts you down, doesn't matter. She'll be okay with it next time. But if you don't even attempt it, she's going to feel unattractive. She's going to feel ugly, and you're not going to go out with her again. You actually are burning your own bridge. So just remember, it's part of the game. It's part of the script. And you have to read your lines if you want to actually get the part. So that's a real deal. What is the success rate with women who use that line? I'd say it's 80-20 with a guy who's experienced. You don't talk her out of it. Again, if she even says this, it means she's thinking about sex. So you're already past 50%. And remember, it's a script. It's part of the game. She has to say it, and then you still try. I told you we weren't having sex. She at least attempted to put it in front of you. So just keep that in mind. And almost everything works out to be 80-20. 80% yay if you're dealing with guys that are experienced and girls that are experienced. And 20% actually mean no, and they have damn good reason. They just went through a breakup, or they're going to bang their regular hookup later that night. She doesn't want to fuck two guys in one day. There's all kinds of reasons, none of them are necessarily good, or she just isn't too sure about it. You back off, and then you attempt. You always there's no lines. Again, don't talk to her about this. You physically escalate. This is about moving physical escalation up. You still attempt to physically escalate. You still attempt for a kiss close. You still attempt to get her back to your place. You get her back to your place. You still try to physically escalate. This isn't one of those, you start trying to talk her into it, it's just going to piss her off because that's not part of the script. You just go, oh, okay. And then you move on, and then you start physically escalating. That's the real deal. Men show. You don't have to talk about it. You need to show her you'll physically escalate. Don't talk about it, because all she can do is deny it. Again, it's kind of like putting her on trial. You're putting her on the spot, and now she has to dig her heels in, as opposed to, kissing her and moving up the physical escalation ladder where she can kind of go with the flow. That's the real deal. There's no lines that can counter this. You just, okay. And then you move on, and then you just physically escalate anyway. And then she can say no. And you just roll with that, and you have to call the shots in the middle of it. Just remember that we're going to do an entire video. Hell, we'll probably do it tomorrow morning between Bunny and I. I think she explains this better than I do, how to deal with last minute resistance or resistance at all. And I mean in a classy way that everyone wins. That's what you want. You want everyone to walk away feeling really good about it. So those are the game translations. That's the real deal. So if you guys like this video, there are a number of products at Fort Worth Playboy at gumroad.com that can help you further, like how to build a dating system and take the dating world by storm book bundle. All these things can help you move girls from complete stranger to naked and in your bed, or take a relationship that's kind of fizzled, it's not as exciting as it used to be, and kick some new energy into it. All kinds of benefits. But that's where you start. And if you'd like a consultation with me, There will be a link below. Get on the phone. If you have a deeper problem, you're stuck, or you have a girl that, like, guys get on, they go, this girl's different. So we want to not fuck it up. I'm the guy to talk to, and it's usually one or two small things that we can adjust to make sure that this thing goes well. So again, if you have a high value girl that you don't want to fuck up this one time, reach out. We can do a consultation. If you have a unique situation, or if you're looking at big picture stuff, we can cover that and get you a strategic program. That's the real deal. And I appreciate you guys being here. Bunny and I will be here together at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. I appreciate y'all's time. If you like what you see, buy something, help us financially, support this channel, support what we're doing here. And we appreciate your time, and we hope you guys have a great day.